Welcome back to the Let's Talk Sports Show here on Callan 105 FM. Well, we got quite a jam-packed show for you today, but first of all, I'm going to apologise to Jamie because I pronounced his name incorrectly at the start of the show. If you want to, name drop yourself out there for all the Callan listeners, how to pronounce your name correctly?
Jamie Burgoyne, thanks for shoving the mic in my face.
Well, you're not close enough to it, so, you got to make sure that you get it correct.
Am I close enough now?
Yes, you are.
A little too close.
Maybe too close. Okay, less of that the better. Let's get right into it and right into our probably the biggest football story of the past week here in Wrexham, which is of course the effects of the Danny Ward transfer that's taken place this week between Liverpool and Leicester City. Of course, Liverpool selling on Danny Ward, and originally a Wrexham academy player, was he?
Yes. Yeah. He was in the academy at Wrexham, and then when he was 17, didn't play a game for Wrexham, went for 100 grand to Liverpool with a clause, but it's depending on where you go. Oh, it's the fee's been disputed, the clause been disputed. But anyway, carry on.
So this clause that you're going on about is something like 10% of the transfer going back to Wrexham.
Yeah, the last I heard today was it was 15%, and the fee involved was 12.5 million. So Wrexham get just under 2 million.
Yeah, so that would make it very interesting.
But then some places say 20%, some people say 25%, others are saying 10%. The evening leader today was 15%, which equates to just under 2 million. But there's also supposedly there's some kind of non-disclosure clause in as well, so we probably will never know for definite. But either way, Wrexham are getting a bit of money.
They certainly are. They're certainly getting a bit of money. 1.25 up to 2 million, depending on what the clause is. It's going to be an incredible amount of money coming to them for probably what must be like the first time in years. This kind of money coming into Wrexham Football Club. So really, there's like there could be like a little bit of a dilemma really amongst fans, amongst the coaches, amongst the board as well, as to how to really spend this money, and if they should really spend this money right now, because Wrexham, they haven't been in the Football League now for how many years is it?
This will be 11, I think.
11 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1.25 million is pretty much more than what some League Two and League One clubs get per season. Yeah. Well, what does Shrewsbury get usually during a transfer window?
Not too sure.
We
don't really sell that often.
No.
When we do, it's quite good. We've just got Conor Goldson's just moved from Brighton to up to Rangers. I think we've got $1 million from that.
Right.
Wow.
I think West Brom, we're looking at Ryan Woods as well, and I think there's another 15% transfer sell on there, and I think they're looking at 8 million for him. So.
Okay, wow. so it's still quite a significant amount though, really, for Wrexham to get this kind of money.
To put into perspective, we don't have a transfer budget pretty much every season. We'll be lucky if we can afford to spend maybe 20, 30, 40,000 a summer in total, and then we have to rely on the last couple of seasons we've done build the budget where fans have contributed. By June of this year, for this coming season, I think it was 25 grand that fans had put together in total over the last year. It was I think I got it written down here somewhere. It was 100 grand in total over the last year. So it's all we're scraping for money always from every angle that we can, because we're trying to we're a fan run club. So for us to get potentially up to 2 million, well, shy of 2 million, or just either way over $1 million. To get that chunk of money, that's a lot. That represents pretty much years of a budget. But like you said, it's just the how do we spend it now? There's lots of different ways where it could go. I think some fans are expecting literally us to have 2 million to go and spend on an entire new squad.
See, this is what I was going to ask right now. I was going to go around the room, essentially dedicate this first 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so of the first opening part of the show as to how do we think Wrexham should spend this money, because it is a bit of a dilemma for them, because they do have quite a few options that they could do for it. I think I read on the Leader or something 5 options that they've got for this 1.25 million. You either invest in the future, so Wrexham, as it's known for a decent academy to some sorts compared to a lot of other teams around the country, they can produce products, as we've seen in Danny Wood. Pay off the racecourse lease, of course. The whole issue with the racecourse.
Yeah, that wouldn't be possible. Yeah, that's not enough.
It could contribute towards it, but wait and see on that. Invest in the current squad, potentially push them back into the Football League. Make improvements to the racecourse itself, because if you walk past this racecourse, like almost every day, like Andrew does, or if the Wrexham area, then about the standing stand on the far side, the Cop near the railway lines that has not been used for a couple of years now. So it could be good to use that money to improve that facility there, or save it for a rainy day completely and sit on it for now and let's see what happens in the next few years or so. So Andrew, So tell you what, from a fan perspective, Andrew, how would you want to spend this money? And then from a club's perspective, how do you think they will spend it?
I'd like to think that I think from both in the same way. You do get some fans who are very passionate and just want to see results on the pitch straight away, but then you've also got to have more of a business head on in a way as well, and just think of what is best for the club in its current capacity. We've got this 99-year lease on the racecourse, which the money wouldn't be able to afford to buy that out necessarily. With the Kop, it's a tricky one with the Kop. That's where I used to stand all the time for all my infancy going to Wrexham, and I do miss standing there, but the money wouldn't be enough to renovate the Kop. If being honest, the Kop's going to need to be flattened and built back up, you'd imagine, just because of the cost it takes to renovate it otherwise. And if we did open the Kop for some reason, then it's not going to increase the attendance. It's just going to scatter thinner across the ground, which I did. I mean, I love that stand, the Kop, but I don't think that's a way to go forward. I think it's just going to be a case of using a lot of it for general housekeeping, having some money there in our back pocket to know we're safe, because our financial struggles have been well known over the past couple of decades, really, and also obviously put some money into the first team squad, but not only a percentage. Give the manager, just so he knows that he's got maybe a couple $100,000 behind him if he wants. We've got to trust in the board, we've got to trust in the manager. I was joking about it then off air, how some people are already saying that tomorrow's game, Tuesday's game, a friendly away at Macclesfield, is Sam Ricketts' last chance.
Bringing the big guns now, are we? Yeah, we've got the money to do so.
No, I wouldn't say that, but it's just that some fans, you've got to trust the manager. The manager's been given the job for a reason. He hasn't managed a single league game, a competitive game. He's had some friendlies, a handful of friendlies with a squad that he's starting to assemble, and people are already calling for him to be this is it, this is make or break a friendly, a meaningless friendly that is all about getting your fitness together, trying to work on the system, get the players to gel together. It's like I trust the board and I trust the manager to do what they think is best with this money.
Fair enough. Joe, welcome to the show. You haven't really said much so far, but I thought I'd include you right now. From an outside perspective, obviously you're not a Wrexham fan, as far as I'm aware. You're pretty hardcore Liverpool, but how do you think Wrexham should use this money to like potentially coax someone like you to come maybe even watch a couple of games here in the future? Do you think?
I've watched a couple of games in the past and wasn't exactly thrilling, no offence.
No, it's not. It's been dire, especially the last few seasons.
But I think, to be honest, the housekeeping thing was an interesting point, because obviously with the financial struggles, I didn't think of that. My initial thought was, well, they should be investing in the squad to do what they can to push themselves into the Football League, because obviously you look at Tranmere Rovers as an example this season, they've gone up and they've been able to spend money this summer that they've not really had in previous years on better quality of players. So in theory, if they push themselves up, they'll get that bigger budget and will be able to compete in the League 2, hopefully. I'm not saying straight away for promotion, but you survive and then build that way.
Just to interject there, sorry, Joe, one big spanner in that works, though, is the fact that there's only one automatic promotion spot, and the way that Salford is spending money at the moment, it's going to be, even if we went out and spent all this money on players, it's going to be hard to compete with Salford.
Do you think it's worth sitting on it then for now? And then wait until Salford's out the league and see who comes down?
It's one way to look at it like that, but that you're always going to have, there's always going to, in the time you've been in the conference, you've had teams come and go. You've had a Crawley, you've had a Fleetwood, all these teams that come through, Forest Green, that come through the league from the lower pyramids with some cash daddy behind them, some fat cat behind them, and there's always going to be that challenge. It's just, it really is. You can't predict it as such. There's always going to be some team coming up with a load of money behind them. There's always going to be a big team. The longer you stay in the conference, in non-league football, the National League is these days, the more league teams are coming into it. Every season that are dropping out of the football league. So it's always going to be tricky. Whatever season you go with it, I'd say I'm not saying be frugal with it, but I'm just saying don't be going trigger happy on getting players in. Look at the youth. We don't even own our own. We don't even have our own training ground. We train on 9 acre because we sold off our training ground, which is
Colliers.
Yeah. The words I wanted to say about that I can't say on community radio, but okay. So it's just it's not necessarily all about the playing squad. Yeah, if we had a brilliant team playing great football, I'd love it. I'd love us to get promoted, and hopefully we do. But it's just a case of there's a lot of it's a case of spinning a lot of plates for this one, I think, with the money we've got. Okay,
Jamie, you're wearing your TNS shirt today. We'll be doing a preview for that the game in Europe later on this week for the YouTube channel. So make sure you catch it on Let's Talk Sports YouTube channel for that preview there later on in the week. But for Wrexham's perspective here, how do you think they should look to be spending this money? Because TNS every year they get some money from participating in Europe. How do they spend that money? Do you think that's a plan that Wrexham should potentially follow with this big investment that getting for the football club, which is a big investment in their eyes?
Yeah, well, TNS, they put a lot of money back into the community and stuff like that. So I think they built a bowling alley out of their first one. So they've tried to make it almost into a big sort of like activity place as well as a football pitch. But I think a good marquee signing is always good. But however, if you look at Salford, when they've signed Adam Rooney for 5k a week, there's so much pressure on him to score. So if you see Adam Rooney, not scoring the first couple of games, watch the fans turn, incredibly salty, as it were. But yeah, I think if you look to sign up lower down, to put investment in, but do save up a lot more. You do see teams crumbling quite a lot in the conference.
Yeah, it can be bad if you make the wrong investment, especially with this kind of money, and it backfires on you completely. So that might be like the major concern for Wrexham moving forward, because they haven't had this amount of money in years, and if one wrong move, and it could be even worse situation for them, because if they end up investing in a player like in Rooney and bringing him in for $5,000 a week,
we wouldn't be doing that. I don't think, even with the money we've got, we wouldn't be spending that on wages. I don't think anybody in the conference will. I'm not privy particularly to that much information, but I think like on average, a Wrexham player, a signing would be maybe $700-800 a week. So to be thinking of $5,000 a week is just that wouldn't be plausible for anybody else in the football league, in the non-league, other than Salford. But a marquee signing would be nice. But I think as well, one thing that maybe I wouldn't be surprised if we're waiting for is Sam Ricketts has just come in charge. It's his first job in football, his first managerial job in football. So maybe they might think, well, let's see how he goes on until Christmas, and because for all we know, I've got a lot of faith in him. But for all we know, he could be a complete bust as a manager, and we could be in the bottom 4 by October. And so you're thinking, would you want to be trusting him with all this money? I think he'll do well, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we're holding back a little bit from the playing squad with the money until maybe see how things are in Christmas. So we know we've got it there. Want to see how the season starts to shape out. I wouldn't be surprised if we will bring. I'd imagine we bring in a few more players before the start of the season. But obviously with the conference, start of the season is just around the corner. Literally, the 4th?
It must be starting the same weekend as the Football League, the 4th of August.
It is, yeah. We're Dover away.
Can I ask a question? Have you got any money from the Louis Moult transfer last
January? Supposedly we did, but again, it's all, a lot of these things are undisclosed, and you don't hear that much about it. But yeah, when Louis Moult went to Preston, that was, we were supposedly had some money on that. Before that, we had some money from Neil Taylor when he left Swansea to go to Aston Villa. And in terms of any other big sales before that, there's not been many. The one that comes to mind, which is ages ago, probably before most of you were even born, was like 1997. Brian Hughes left us to go to Birmingham after we got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and that was just shy of $1 million. I think it was about 850 grand. But that's 20 years ago now. So
fair enough.
On the wages thing, I remember hearing that Louis Moult was on £500 a week here at Wrexham, and then went to $5,000 at Motherwell, and everyone's going, "Well, you can't blame me, can you?"
No, it's all right. Anybody in any other line of work, you take a 10. What we're on there, 500% wage increase. My maths have gone out the window, but yeah, I think sometimes people, especially people who aren't immersed in non-league football and lower league football, don't quite realise the financial sums that are involved. That was our top goal scorer there, our top striker, who's on 500 quid a week. People think of superstar footballers and they think that they're on 20 grand, 10 grand, or at this level they might think they're on 2 grand, 3 grand a week. It's not that. It's not much more than your average man on the street. And so when they've got families, they've got mortgages, they've got bills hanging over their heads. You can. A lot of fans are easy to jump on the bandwagon when a player decides to leave a club when they get a better offer. But the level of football we're at and the level of finances on offer. You can't hold it against players, I don't think.
It's the same when it comes to managers as well. Shrewsbury took Paul Hurst from Grimsby. This great prospect, and he took us all the way to Wembley, and straight after he went and signed for Ipswich. A lot of fans,
to play a final,
going absolutely.
I was going to say these something ain't loyal, but I don't think I can say that word on the radio. But we'll get to that. As you mentioned about TNS earlier, just quickly give us a little bit of a snip preview of the game coming up this Thursday and why people should come over to watch our preview on the YouTube channel.
Absolutely, we've got Lincoln Red Imps, who are a Gibraltar side. Who I think they came I think they won the Gibraltar Premier League, I think last year. We previously were in the Champions League. We lost 5-4 on aggregate to Shakinja, a Macedonian side, after losing 5-0 away, which great result.
Yeah.
Almost did the impossible. We came back 4-0 win at home. Almost did, if we'd have gotten one more goal, which we were pressing quite hard for, it would have been the best. It would have been the greatest comeback in Champions League at 5-0.
Oh, really?
Like being overturned has never been done before. But if we bring the same sort of form we did against Shakinja at home, we're looking at a 10-0 win. And also it's watching Europa League, in the locals. You see it on the TV.
This is the third qualifying round, is it? So they got
second. This will be
okay. So they got two. If they get through this, they've got 2 more stages for the group stage. Is that right, or is it one more stage?
I think it's 2 more stages.
Okay.
I'm not too sure in Europa League. I remember studying a lot for the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think it's the third and then a playoff and then.
Right. Okay. Yes. So not far away, and potentially European football could be a TNS next season if they get the correct results. And if you want to make sure that you know up to date all about TNS, be sure to check out our preview of that game coming up on our YouTube channel later on this week. But now we're going to go for a music break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the transfer window so far, mainly looking at the Premier League, but we'll also talk about these guys' personal clubs as well, as to what transfers they like, what deals they like as well, and what teams need to be doing a little bit more action before now and Friday the 4th or 5th. For 5th of August, when the transfer window closes itself. But when we come back from the break, that's what we'll be talking about. But for now, enjoy Message in a Bottle by The Police.